Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Real Talk here on Shelbyville
Hello.
Now. I'm David Thomas. This is Bo Gill. We're sitting here and we're about to jump into a couple of topics, Bo, that I'm not going to say are controversial, but I'm going to say, well, people will have different opinions on, okay? And I'm going to share my opinion. You're going to share your opinion probably.
Yep.
And the first one we're going to talk about, though, we started talking about on Monday, and I threw it out there, a wheel tax.
That's right.
First of all, I'll say this. I'm against any kind of tax increase or an added tax. I'm against that. Okay. However, looking at the situation that our county could possibly be in 3-4 years down the road, we're going to have to face the reality that we haven't managed our money properly. Okay. We've expanded government to the point of we've gotten kind of fat. Okay. We're going to have to trim it down a little bit, possibly, but still provide the basic services that our county residents need. And in order to do that, we're going to have to come up with probably more money.
Yes.
Because everything's exploding in cost.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So that gets down to cutting services or raising taxes to sustain the services. And if I were to pick a way to increase things, it would not be by adding to the property tax rate. It would be by doing something like a wheel tax. Now, I would want to, that my opinion is that we should do an audit of everything that we're doing and how we're spending our money. Not that anything's done wrong, but some outside eyes.
An independent audit is always healthy.
Yeah, outside eyes looking at how we do things to tell us where we can improve.
Yes.
That type of audit. Look at the numbers and say, you guys are out of line here and here and here. You got to tighten yourself up here.
Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right.
We don't have outside eyes. And when you're doing it yourself, I can always get critiqued. I can say, Bo, take a look at what I'm doing here and tell me where I'm wrong. And you're going to see stuff that I'm not. That type of audit should take place. And then I would like this to be voted on if we had to do it. If we had to do it, I would like to see it voted on by a referendum where the public actually votes for it. And then there can be no increase unless a referendum is brought back up to increase it or decrease it or whatever. Any changes should be done by referendum going forward.
Yes.
Okay.
It makes too much sense. Just about. That's kind of where I went when we talked about it a little bit on Monday. I think that no matter what, any type of tax, like I'll say, I'm not against any tax. I'm a new tax, I would say, or any tax increase. But if we're talking taxes here, a wheel tax that the money has been allotted and that's where it's going. And if there is a set amount of time that it's for, and then it expires or goes back to referendum, I think that's fair. I think that a wheel tax with no limits and a very
you're handing them a blank check. That's not good.
That's what it is, because it's you can look at there's case history with that in counties around us.
Oh, look,
they started low and now it never goes down. So and then the voters don't have a voice on it anymore. It's done.
Right.
And so I think that is a wise a more wise way to enact things, and it gives the people a voice.
I would like to see us actually have an audit done and try to tighten up things and get rid of some waste.
Yes.
Fraud and abuse and waste. That's the Doge logo.
Yeah.
Their little saying, their little spiel, which had vanished. But I think every county should look at themselves that way. Every government that's collecting tax revenue should have that done from time to time, just to see where we've got bloated.
Yes.
And we've gotten bloated.
Yes.
Bo.
Well, you need to look at it anyways to say, well, we're growing. But we're bloated here, or maybe we're understaffed there, and maybe we could cut a little here and add a little there.
Right.
They need to see, and an independent eye is the best case, because when you're looking at it yourself, that means that someone that you're well acquainted with, you got to go tell, hey, we got to cut this, and that's, it needs to be done. But sometimes those personalities aren't in there to do it.
Now, I when this came up 2 years ago,
yes,
I inquired at the office, Donna Thomas's office, to find out how many registered vehicles we had in Bedford County, and it was about 60,000.
60,000,
right around 60,000 vehicles. Okay. We've got 56,000 in population, but we've got 60,000 vehicles registered, which that makes sense. You got that many vehicles, and if you were to do $100 of a tax, that's $6 million coming in. Okay. And you would have, if you were saying, let's say where it's going, let's say $2 million to law enforcement, $2 million to EMS and fire, $2 million to roads.
Yes, and I think that if I were to name where they should go, those are
your
big
three.
ones.
Okay.
You know,
Now, people want to holler about education. Yeah, education. We do need to. We can tighten some things up and fund education, but that's got to be a permanent solution, not a temporary fix.
It does, and the majority of that comes from the state now too. So I mean, we're getting a lot
74% of it's coming from the state of Tennessee.
Not to say that we couldn't use beefing up. I know that it's we've got a lot of students here now.
Yeah, maybe you go 1.5, 1.5, 1.5.
Yes,
and then 1.5 instead of 2, 2, and 2, and give education $1.5 million.
But you see what we're doing here? We're laying it out in front of the table of everything and discussing it, and this seems not to be the process. Like a private act doesn't seem like that's a good way. It seems like
it should be referendum.
Yes, it should be clear cut, and there it is. But also a time limit has to be put on it, or a new referendum. That I think is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
I wish time limits were put on property taxes.
Well,
but
you could say this is going to be for 4 years.
Yes.
And at the end of 4 years, we'll revote.
You
can, and that would be an endorsement or a non-endorsement by the public that's paying this tax. Are we getting our money's worth?
Yeah, and I'd go so far as to say you could maybe change a few things if there's some needs that have occurred.
Yeah, you can shift where it's going.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way, a possibility way for everyone involved to have more of a fair
First
share.
of all, I'm not a proponent of any kind of new tax, Bo. I'm thinking we can manage with what we got coming in now. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if in the future we have to come up with some additional revenues, which I think we could shrink Bedford County government by 10 or 15% because we've doubled it in the last 8 years. I think we can shrink it some.
We're running pretty good without a government shutdown.
I would challenge any Bedford County employee right now. We've got a lot of good employees, and you good employees, just look around yourself and say, am I carrying the load? Is everybody carrying the load, or am I carrying the load?
Yeah.
Okay. I guarantee you, in any organization, you got 20% of the people just riding somebody's coattail.
Yeah.
Well, that 20% needs to go away.
I
not just to say you're fired, but if you're not doing the job, in every organization it's like this. You can always trim, just like right now, the federal government, we have essential and non-essential employees. Mm-hmm. Why would you have a non-essential employee, Bo? That don't even make sense.
I think that most employees are essential. I would feel kind of bad if I was a non-essential.
If you're an employee, you are essential.
Yeah.
Evidently.
So
allegedly.
Yes, allegedly. I don't get that. Getting back to like the audit, and I assume the commission has to vote for that, like if they got an independent one or if they wanted to approve
right now, you would never get it to come to a vote because you wouldn't get anybody because nobody wants it.
And that's what I've thought that's kind of been the way, and I don't really understand that.
If I'm on the finance committee, I'm going to want to say not to question anybody about your integrity, but let's just question ourselves on how we're doing this.
We're humans, right? I mean, humans, we sometimes make errors, and
you get sidetracked on pet projects. You got to, that's more important. You got to look at your basics. We're going to get to the point, Bo, and this is not just in the county and city level, but state level. And we're already past the point of no return on the federal level, but just do the necessities. What is necessary? Just like the essential and non-essential employee, it makes no walking around sense to me why you would have a non-essential. That means somebody's getting a free ride.
You look at it like you look at your home. What do I need for my family that's essential? Well, then broaden it to government. What does this community need that is essential?
Exactly.
I mean, and we've said police,
those four
EMS,
things,
fire. I mean, we need a clean water supply. I would say but that's something that's not necessarily a utility.
That's a utility. That's
a lot of people say that, and that's not necessarily true. But we do need water, and that's a big topic too that we hit a lot on Monday.
Okay, Connie Hasty comes in and says let's see, there has never been a tax taken off the table. Is every person who owns a vehicle going to be required to pay? And if I were, I'm not proposing this, okay? I'm just saying if we had to have a tax increase, that's where it needs to come from, not from property taxes.
Yes.
Because, yes, everybody that owns a vehicle would have to pay if they want to register the vehicle in Bedford County.
If not, you would have an illegal tag or expired tag.
Exactly.
It would work the same way as it does now when you go up and pay the 35 or whatever dollars, it 27, 31,
29. It's different depending on
that's right. But
your last name.
They might be another $50 or $25 assessed when you go do that. that's the end of that tax until the next year. And then if the wheel tax is say for 5 years, then at the end of that 5 years, no matter what, it doesn't just keep rolling over. It is revoted on, no matter what.
I think so, because that would give your general public to say, okay, we like the way this is working. Okay.
Or we don't like the way this is
working. And here's what you say. You're just gonna have to live without this money.
Yeah.
No increase in property taxes the next year either.
Yes.
Do it all together.
I think that in all the while this tax or this wheel tax is going on,
who's going to enforce it? Donna Thomas's office will enforce it.
And
if they go up there you go up there to register a vehicle, you don't get you don't get registered if you don't pay the property.
I hate to tell on myself, but I've been pulled over for having an expired tag that I forgot to. The police will enforce it.
Oh,
you'll have to pay a fee for them for dealing with the court,
right?
And then you'll have to go get it. You will get a reminder. That's kind of how it works now.
Yeah, I'm not proposing this. I'm just saying if
real talk about it.
If we have to have some sort of tax increase, I'd rather lock in property taxes at the rate we are now and do a wheel tax versus having property taxes spinning out of control. And here's another thing. There is a movement right now going across the country, Florida, Texas, Ohio, to eliminate property taxes.
Yes, I have heard that. And that
okay. What are you going to do then?
Well, you don't have any income, much income, especially without a state income tax.
Well, it's not about the state.
Well, right.
It's about the counties.
Right. You're right.
The counties are the one that's getting the money.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means you got to beef up your sales. That means everybody's got to buy stuff at home, and then we got to come up with more money.
Well, I can't think of a better way that an everyday item that everyone uses more than a vehicle. I don't know. I'm sure there's something out there.
If you don't want to pay the tax, don't register your vehicle in Bedford County. Don't get you a car.
Yeah, or exactly. That's the only.
But I'm not arguing for this. I'm just saying if we were to have to have a tax increase, I'd rather see it this way.
Yes.
Than to see a property tax going out of control.
To be clear for the record, we're not for any tax, but just saying hypothetically, this has been discussed a lot.
Allie, you bring up a good point. Isn't that why we have elections? Yes, it is. But unfortunately, too many people have their head buried in the sand and they're not paying attention to what's going on.
Let's look at the numbers here. We've got how many did you say in the county? And we have
55,000.
And we have about on a great.
Well, let's look at how many. There's 29,000 registered voters.
That's right.
And we'll have 4, 5, 6 on a good one, 10,000.
So that's been
show up.
One
Less
of my
than
things
50%.
For the last I don't know how many years. Wake up, Bedford County. Wake up, know what's going on, and go vote for the person that is right for the county. It doesn't matter who it is, your friends. I'm sorry. It has to be the best candidate. That's just the way it needs to be. That's the only way.
All right. Mark Henley comes in. He said, as a former Bedford County resident, I sure do miss my $21 tag renewals.
Oh, yeah.
As much as I loathe paying the wheel tax in Marshall County, it does spread the burden equally, and it does. That's makes it fair across the board. Now, I'm not saying replace the property tax with that because you can't get enough revenue.
No.
If you did a wheel tax only, it would be $600-700 a pop, and a lot of people can afford that.
No.
I get that. All right, so it's just to, and I get what Allie's saying. Unfortunately, we have an uninformed electorate here. Yeah. We do not have a voting public that's paying attention to what's going on around them. And speaking of that, Bo, we're going to change gears. And we're going to go into the second topic of what we were going to talk about today. You recently, thanks for everybody's input on the property.
Yes,
on
good
the
stuff
tax.
there. Good stuff.
And I'm not proposing a wheel tax. I'm just saying if we had to have a tax increase, which we're going to see this real soon, Bo, maybe not this coming spring, but the next spring and going forward, as prices escalate on everything, our county is going to have to tighten its belt. All right, CDA as well.
Yes.
All right. But the second topic, you recently, what was it, Monday?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday. Went to a public hearing.
Public subdivision meeting.
A subdivision meeting.
Yep. And it was at the
park complex. There's a development over off of Horse Mountain Road that's wanting to come in.
That's right.
You being on the planning commission, you got to see public input.
Yes, I did.
So I don't know about this. Josh and I have talked about the development, and we do know that the development does not have, there's no sewer where they're wanting to build. So they're going to have to pump the stuff through the park or around the park to get it to a major sewer line.
Currently, they do not have the facilities in place for sewer. They have a plan for that, but
Case
it is
closed.
in there.
Case closed. No sewer, no building.
I was at a neighborhood meeting yesterday.
Okay.
It was what they call a neighborhood meeting, that the developer or the property owner reaches out to all the neighbors to come and have their input. They had put on a nice display. They had people there talking, taking questions. And we had a great show out from the citizens there. There were a lot of concerned citizens there. That's what I walked away from that meeting. Of course, I didn't comment on anything. I just wanted to listen to a lot of the comments there. And of course, our fine city planner, Thomas Batchelor, was there, and he was able to field a lot of those questions to him and Brandy. Even Josh Blevins was there too. A few citizens wanted some answers, and that he provided. Look, there's a lot of concerns there. I mean, when I look at things, just from my observation, I look at Horse Mountain Road. You know, historically, Horse Mountain Road and Fairfield Pike have been very, I would say, accident infested.
They're not conducive for traffic flow of any magnitude, and we're overrunning Fairfield Pike now.
I would make an argument right now that both those roads are probably over traveled. I would say they've always been dangerous.
They're almost as over traveled as our sewer lines are.
Yeah, and they're heavily traveled.
Tell me about
it.
But
there's no shoulder. There's little to no shoulder on those roads through there. They're very, very narrow, very curvy. And it goes out into the county.
Yeah, that telephone pole right there in that curve is my friend, Bo.
Yeah, now that curve, that curve.
I know somebody that had a wreck and almost got killed there. A young lady that I went to high school with took her Mustang and climbed that thing.
Look, that is a notorious curve here in Shelbyville, and let's not, let's call it what it is. Yeah. Because that is one, and people here that are from Bedford County, Shelbyville could list story and story over that curve. It's the curve when you take a left out of the back entrance of the park. There's a curve on Horse Mountain Road that takes you on out Horse Mountain Road towards Idle Acres.
If you don't make the curve, you either hit the telephone pole or go kiss a cow.
Yes, it is. So that right there is just one instance, and that I know the citizens are concerned about the road. Of course, the sewer, and a lot of them had questions about how is it going to affect my property? What is it going to do? There's TVA lines there that are actually helping create a buffer there for some of those.
So what happens with a TVA line?
Well, they just have to stay away from it, or their plan. I didn't get a good look at their plan, but no, the TVA wins on
You mean you can't have a TVA line going through your front yard?
Oh, yeah, you can, as a matter of fact. I mean,
I know where there's one at right now. The pole's like 15 feet right off.
Now, the real large ones, there is a thing called the fall distance. So most houses have to be away. I've seen some that aren't.
This fall distance is like 10 feet. I mean, it's like
I don't know. Maybe they got some type of exception, but in this case, that does, and let's just talk about the soil there for a minute. If you ride by
soil,
a lot of rock there.
It's rock,
a lot of rock,
limestone,
and they have incorporated that at the plan that I saw. They have incorporated that into their green space, which is nice. I mean, they had a plan.
That's gray space.
Well, it might be, but they wanted it. They had a great speech about it. I'd say they were really prepared. There were several people. But the citizens hit pretty hard.
What I want to know. What did the people think? I could care less about what people wanting to build think. If everybody there can say, yeah, that's good, let's do this. It's got to be for a better Shelbyville. Whatever we do, Bo, it affects. One house being built has an effect.
Yes.
There are consequences from building one house.
Yes.
A ripple effect, and people don't understand that.
Well, if I were
an impact
taking votes and out of this meeting, it would have got it would have been no. It'd been unanimous, probably no. But let's that is what every resident would do. Any houses, they're very biased, and they admit it. The residents are biased, and so are the developers. There was good questions there. There was, there were lifelong residents there that mean a lot to a lot of us Bedford County people that I won't call out there, that were there asking good questions. People that are highly respected in this town. People that work and live and have been here,
and they got common sense,
and they're concerned about that, and that does not need to be ignored. And I'm glad that that's taken place already. Now, this is something that hadn't been brought up. This will be brought up in December, I believe, with the Planning Commission. It's something though that has been brought up now publicly and is in the public sphere of things. and we're and it needs to be discussed, and I think that those citizens need to be heard just as much as the developers are wanting to be heard and to show they were heard. That this is their plan, and there's a long way to go before you get there. There's traffic studies. There's a lot of things that the city has not seen this plan. They have not. It's something that's just being talked about. So whenever it's all looked at, the engineers go over it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of concerns brought up and questions that need to be addressed.
All right, Bo, I told you before I'm a Bedford County first person, just like I'm an America first person.
Yes.
Okay.
Me too.
Does this development improve the lives of the people in the city of Shelbyville and Bedford County? That's the question. I'm not asking you to answer that. Mm-hmm. Because that's the $1 million question. Yes. Does it improve our lives to build that development there?
And that needs to be thought of. I mean, do we put do we approve the things before we have the infrastructure in and ready?
Oh, that sounds like a disaster.
And in this case, it's wanting approval, then we'll do it. And that's the way the world is starting to work nowadays. But I think there has to be a time when you have to stand up to say, hey, we've got to get these things right, and I think that's what the neighbors are trying to do there.
I got a comment to what Tim Loki just said. He said, wheel tax will not help your property taxes and will cost you more. What my point is, Tim, is we lock in the property taxes that we have now, no rate increase. And if you're going to have to increase taxes, add the wheel tax on. Do not increase the rates.
Yes.
That's what my point is. Do that in referendum.
Yes.
Where you lock down the tax rate of property taxes. They can't be raised, even though your evaluations and your estimates and what do you call
market value,
all that could change, but don't increase the rates. Lock them in, bring this in, and let the people decide.
Yes,
I'm not proposing this tax.
Yeah,
we're jumping back to the first topic.
Yeah,
but I saw that comment. It can be whatever we want it to be.
Yes, but you're exactly right. With no huge increase.
No increase on property tax.
But what Mr. Loki's saying too as well. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. That's what we don't want.
We don't want that. All right. So, and Allie says, so are these developments automatically assuming the zoning will be changed? Does this require zoning change?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Then you got. There's an easy way to say to answer this question if it's going to improve. And I just put an article on Shelbyville Now on Facebook.
A very good article.
I encourage y'all to read that because we have been talking about growth, progress, blah, 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 blah. What is progress? But we have to redefine what that is. In this article, I tried to redefine the way the public sees progress. But we have got it messed up. And I think it's because of all the flood of folks coming here. We think that's progress, and it probably is equivalent to somebody getting overweight.
It is. And like we talked about trimming the fat, what that is growth without, and what we need is growth within. Of true growth within from the citizenry. Yeah, you have people move in, but you also have people born, you have people die. I mean, that's the community. It's going to grow anyway, but growth without is not healthy as growth within.
Yep. That's the way it is. So the question becomes, does this improve the quality of life for the people that live in that area?
Yeah, and that's a question that people need to really think about right now, because like I said, that hasn't came in front of this. It's coming down the road, and it's something that really
we've got to pay attention to.
We've got to pay attention. This was a public meeting yesterday, and the public needs to be involved, and they can come to any meeting that's publicly advertised.
But we need to wrap things up. I appreciate you being there and sharing with what happened.
Yes.
We're going to continue to watch this. And I think every development that we have coming to Bedford County and the city of Shelbyville needs to answer the question, yes, to the question, does this improve the life of Shelbyville and Bedford County? Current people living here. Does it improve our lives?
Yeah, that needs to be the first question asked.
All right. I encourage you to keep an eye on this. Please read the article I just posted on Facebook. I think it maybe will redefine what progress means for the city of Shelbyville and Bedford County.
It's real stuff. That's real. That's real words. We're real talk. We try to keep it a little real around here, but it's very good. I encourage you to read it.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, next week.
Thanks for watching. Please share and like our